Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become all intuitive conversation. Aloha, welcome to All Intuitive Conversation, and I'm Felicia Miller Johnson. I look forward to having a conversation today with Don. So let's bring Don onto the screen. Aloha, Don.
Hello.
How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I am doing well. So I'm already noticing the flag behind you. So I'm going to
Yes.
say, am I going to say thank you for your service? Tell me about this.
You're going to say thank you for your service to my dad. My dad, Donald Gilbert Bryant, he fought, well, he was a part of our armed services, but he specifically fought in the Korean War. So this was many years ago. And he was
Mm.
a soldier, a very proud soldier. And he actually left this earth a few years back at the age of 89. He was and continues to be my biggest inspiration ever. And so that flag is it represents him, and it also represents his love and his passion for just serving and fighting for his country. He was such a patriot, so I honor and salute him.
Oh, well, yes. Thank you,
Hmm.
Shadon, so much for your service. And so I noticed that he's over your left shoulder, but
Hmm.
the left shoulder just kind of standing out in the stars. And I noticed even the room
Hmm.
is blue as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Um, I know this is gonna sound like an interesting, weird question, but this is kind
Hmm.
of how this show goes. What else is in your room?
What else is in my room? Well, this is actually the room that I am in is like my dining area.
Uh-huh.
So this is my workspace. This is where all the magic happens, whether it's, doing consulting, podcasting, working, whatever it is that I do. This is where all of the magic happens. So we're in my illustrious dining room. And when I say illustrious, I basically mean a table with two chairs.
Okay, it's interesting because the first card that came out immediately when I was shuffling when you were talking about your dad was a table and two people
Hmm.
um, at that table. So it was just like, okay, it's not the typical like office space
Right.
um, with that. So tell me about a conversation that you had at your dining room table that like left this impact on your life.
Wow. A conversation that I've had that left a huge impact on my life. Gosh, it was about 6 months ago. I remember it
Mhm.
was at this dining room table, and I had made the decision that a friendship, a very good friendship of mine, that it had run its course and it was time to end it. And me being me, it's important. I don't believe in ghosting or not communicating or sharing my thoughts. That's never been me. I've always been raised by my mom. I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Mhm.
Very vocal family that believes in telling it like it TI is. And so,
Like a tears, yes.
right. So, with that being said, I'm going to always be that way. And so, we had a conversation that I led where it was very difficult, but I think it was very necessary. And even looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, that was a good call.
Mm,
Mhm.
okay, because the next card that came out with that was about awakening.
Mhm.
And like the whole hangman situation, you're upside down the street, but it literally says on the card, a temporary pause for reflection and insight, and awakening where you see things in a whole new light. Um, so that's what it kind of sounds like. Like 6 months
Yeah.
ago, you had this decision to kind of separate from this individual. But what
Yeah.
is interesting is that it was like you said, you didn't hide, and that was the
No.
thing. It was like, I'm upside down. I'm public in a way of
Mhm.
displaying this,
Mhm.
what's kind of going on, but
Right.
letting people know that basically, like, here there was this fork in the road. that had to be had as far as having this decision. So okay, so I hear, honorable father, you're not afraid to have those tough
No,
conversations
not at all.
with that. So I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that it says you're in Hattsville, Maryland.
Yes, I'm in Hyattsville. I listen, I moved here from Detroit, Michigan about 12 years ago. It was super scary. I had never lived anywhere different. And so I came to DC. I knew just a few people.
Yes.
And in my time here, I learned about Hyattsville, and I've lived here in different areas at different times. And I decided to settle here, and it's been a good experience. I love Hyattsville. It's right outside the DMV DC. So I'm not
Hmm.
literally in DC, but I'm on the border, and I benefit from not having to pay. My mortgage isn't as high, so I like that part. So
Yes,
yes,
yes. Well, I'm understanding that because I did
yeah,
2 years at University of Maryland, College Park,
yep.
and so I
Two
saw
blocks down
that.
the street. 2 blocks
Y-
down the street. Yep.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, he's from attended Maryland as
Yeah.
well. Um, so going back to that, thinking about college, taking you
Hmm.
back, tell me what you were like in college.
You said, what did I like in college, or
Tell
what
me what
was
you
I
were.
like?
What was Don like in college?
Oh my gosh. So college, I got a degree in public relations. I always felt that I could be most useful, communicating and leading effective communication. I always kind of felt that way. So that was my major. But one of the things that I was super excited about when I was like 18, 19, I was like, when I go to college, I'm going to pledge a fraternity. And the only fraternity is Alpha Phi Alpha. I had always felt that way, growing up. I had always known about the Alphas, Old Golden Black, 1906, the oldest and the coldest. And
Mhm.
so it was such a big deal for me to become an Alpha. I was so dramatic. I was so young. I was so skinny. And the whole process, I dramatized the whole thing. But anyway, I stayed with it, and, I became a member at the age of 20 years old. So that
No.
was, I was very passionate at that time about being included. I wanted to be a part of a movement. I felt like, man, I'm at college. I
Yeah.
need to figure out who am I? What am I here for? And where am I trying to go? And I just kind of felt like these guys who are also in this organization as like-minded can help me. I can learn from them and some of their experiences and what they, you know, their inspirations. Because I didn't have a lot of people in my family who had gone to college that I was very close with. So a
Mhm.
lot of my experiences for me were very new, and I did have one cousin, Eugene Gatewood, who had gone to college before me, but he was the only one, and so I really leaned on other men and women to kind of help guide me and help me understand what this whole process was supposed to be about.
Yeah. So the card that came out was the Page of Cups, and it talks about when you're young and this whole inexperience and this journey and emotions, and it literally said the things that you were talking about: sensitive, open-hearted, inexperienced, moody, messages regarding relationships, new emotional experiences, a romantic encounter, social invitations or events, heightened psychic abilities. So, but what it connected to was like the whole social aspect of that. Like you were inexperienced, new to this, you were new to, college life. It wasn't some
Hmm.
like, you had generations of family
No,
members like, oh yeah, we're all just going to college.
no, not at
But it
all.
was but it was like you went there and like, okay, I'm gonna be open to this. But you're again smart enough to connect with other individuals, be like, hey, let me get in this organization
Okay.
that'll be able to help me to, connect and not
Hmm.
like be alone.
Right. That's it.
So awesome. So the next thing that came to mind is youth, um, and young and just mentoring and helping other people.
Hmm.
How does that play out in your life today?
Hmm. Mentoring is such a huge aspect of my life. But the reason why it's an aspect in my life that's so large is because I had a chance to reflect on how many folks had mentored me, even though I was rough around the edges
Mhm.
and didn't give up on me despite misunderstandings, mistakes, not being exposed. And that's very humbling when you think about the time, money, and energy and space that people, share with you to
Mhm.
help you grow and develop. And in some cases, it's all for you, it's not even for them. And so I had those moments and I was like, whoa, they did that for me. Like, and they got really nothing in return. And so
Mm.
I, learned that earlier on. And so mentoring became something that was important for me. Even in my work, I've been in the nonprofit industry
Ah.
for the
Mhm.
whole 20 years that I've been a professional. But specifically, I was inspired to help develop a nonprofit. I'm a founder of a nonprofit called the Initiative Baltimore,
Mhm.
which is in Baltimore, of course, but we work with young men, teenagers, middle school, high school, and our goal is to help create the next generation of leaders. So I feel humbled to say that I co-founded it with another person, and that organization has been around for over 5 years, and we have been blessed enough to work with some amazing young men who no doubt are going to take this world by storm. They're already taking it by storm, but as they get
Yes.
older, they're going to keep on keeping on, and I'm so happy I'm a part of that journey with them.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so 5 years working with the youth,
Hmm.
basically helping, because like I said, very first card is another
Right.
person, but they, like how you said, there's money, there's coins, what you were talking about, like they freely gave their money, their coins, their time in order to help mold this other person, at this table,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Um, and like I said, just being on display. Like I said, didn't always make the best decisions. Maybe when you were younger, but it was like, okay, this is not gonna, it's not gonna kill
Hmm.
me. I'm like, I'm going
Right.
to continue on, and
Hmm.
that led to not now you working with youth
Right.
and the nonprofit.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. But I do want to say this though.
Mm-hmm.
I was really blessed to work as a second grade teacher, and I also did
Yeah.
three little brothers. Like, so at the age of 19, I had a little brother in the Big Brothers program,
Uh huh.
two in Detroit, and then one in Maryland. So, one was Chris, one was Kenneth, and one was Jerome. That's all three of their names. And
Wow.
they're grown men now. They're in their early 20s and stuff, but they are definitely, they will always be in my heart because we work together. And those experiences kind of
Mm.
inform this nonprofit as well.
Mm. Okay, love that because evidently they touch you because you dropped their names all
Hmm.
three
Yeah.
with that. So the next thing that came up I want to ask you about is when you're faced with challenges, especially in the nonprofit world,
Mhm.
how do you persevere through those challenges?
I think the most important thing that you can do, and I've learned this, I haven't always had this exact perspective, but I do a lot of professional development and consulting and leadership and professional development
Hmm.
now. And the thing that exists in all these facets of my life is there is always going to be a challenge that has to be overcome. Anything I believe very strongly that represents where you want to be, your dreams, your
Hmm.
aspirations, those things just don't come with a blink of an eye and a twitch of a lip. They come with a lot of work, commitment, learning, humility, sacrifice, setbacks, mistakes. And so once you understand foundationally that, you cannot achieve these large goals that you may have set for yourself without this experience. It's a part of the journey. It isn't something that should be, thought of as, this bad thing, but it's a part of it. It's like you can't reach the goal without it. I mean, when
Hmm.
you think about it, you're trying to get to somewhere that you've never been, no one around you has ever done before. You have never achieved this particular thing. So how is it even possible that you can get there without struggles, challenges, and setbacks? So I think just understanding that, number one, that's a part of the journey, number one, and then number two, putting
Yes.
yourself in the position to recognize that there's opportunities to learn from those setbacks and mistakes and so-called failures. Some of the biggest steps that you can towards success you can make is in that failure, because the lesson, the meat, the gold is in that failure. And I really believe that with every fiber of my being. And so that's how I look at it.
Loving that, Don. Absolutely. So, like I said, it is so in line with what you're doing, like I said, persevering. Because the thing is that when you're having that awakening, there are some things that are going to fall out of your pocket,
Hmm.
right? There are some things that we just have to release in our life. But
Yeah.
yet at the same time, it's like it's okay. Like you're going to be fine. There's
Yeah.
someone in this picture that at the very top is someone's looking out for you. Someone's
Hmm.
still got your back. Like someone is still there. That whole mentor aspect of that. So the next question that's coming to the mind is, what is the support guidance that Don would like to have in his life right now?
Well, I recently, when it comes to, well, let me say it this way. When you talk about support and guidance, I think that it is crucial to have a support system,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't do it alone. Or if you do it alone, there may be some opportunities missed by going at it alone, because I believe that community is key.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a journey right now with my leadership and professional development business, where I provide leadership for groups. I do trainings, workshops, and I have a podcast as well, like you, that
Yeah.
focuses on that. And, you know, m- I know that, people need support in the belief, like, that you can do it. And I thrive off of that as well. And so I have a support system that I've curated that really does support me, um, that are friends, and people, that members of the my religious, and my spiritual group as well. That is a part of it. But then also therapy. I am one who believes in speaking with someone who's a therapy, a life coach, like what you are, a therapist. There's different
Yeah.
types of pathways, but I believe in it. And I have a life coach, and I have a therapist too. And both of those people are very informed, but they're also people who I trust, that I can be honest with.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you talk about having people who supporting you and support, well, part of support is dealing in truth and honesty. And if there ain't no truth and honesty, it can't be no support, because what you're supporting, you don't even know what the issue is.
Right.
So for me, it's about having the space to be honest to myself, and just having
Mm-hmm.
people who can be supportive of me in my honesty and truth, even when it's not all of that, even when it needs development, even when it's just flat out wrong. The bottom line is, it's where I am for whatever reason, and to have a community where can meet me where I am, regardless of what that looks like, and we can get to where we're trying to go, and help me and be supportive in spite of, is something that I feel like I need. And I've been working really hard at developing that, and having to get rid of some people and stuff that hasn't been supportive of that. It's not easy at all, but I've had to do it, and I'm still doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on that vibe and that energy that I want around me, or that I need around me, I should say.
Okay. Beautiful. So the the feedback question that's coming through, when you talk about having the people that you need around you and the support,
Hmm.
do you was there a recent occasion, something that just kind of stood out to you that um, made you feel as though your dad was around?
Um, The funny thing about it is, that's a good question. I always feel that way. Like, I always feel that he's around. I had a conversation last night with one of my good friends who lost his dad too. He lost his dad about 5 years before I did, and his dad was amazing.
Yeah.
You hear me? He was amazing. I met him, and so I know it to be true. And his father really is the reason why I think he's amazing. And so, my friend name is Cameron. And with that being said, we were talking about our dads last night, and I actually pulled out, and I'm leaning over, so forgive me, but
Yeah.
this picture right here is a picture of
Mhm.
my dad when I graduated. This is when I graduated college, and I don't know what we were talking about because this is candid, but that's me laughing with my hat in the tassel, and that's my dad saying something that had to be funny because
Mm.
I'm laughing hysterically. And
Very nice.
so, this picture is right next to me. It's something that I pulled out about a week ago, and it's just been sitting on my table. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the picture yet, but I found it recently, and I just have had it on my table, and it's just going to sit there until I figure out, why is it there, and so, hey.
So chill. Um, that is the connection going back to the table. And remember, I was telling you one of the very first questions about what was that conversation that you had that's important just at the table. Um, and then the very last sentence we were talking about on this one was like the heightened psychic abilities, in that trusting your intuition and your abilities, that your dad is around when things just seem to be upside down and maybe in disarray.
Hmm.
Like he's still there, because this was the other guidance that came out, was the air guardian, but at the
Hmm.
bottom of that card it says shift your perspective.
Hmm.
And so I laid it under that awakening. Like I said, there's something else to continue to awakening for your experience, and this is what that message said on the card. So hopefully it'll align, resonate with what you need to hear. It
Right.
says, when this card arises, it's an opportunity to learn about the way you are thinking. You are being guided to recognize that not all that you see is exactly the way you see it. Some
Hmm.
the perspective, something is flipped up around.
Correct.
Sometimes the mind can play games, and sometimes our perceptions can be wrong. If you're being challenged or feel that there's a lack of clarity or direction in your life at the moment, there's a good chance the way you're thinking or what you're focusing on has a lot to do with that reality. You're being guided to open your eyes and your mind, go beyond, and that goes back to open here, where it talked about the open heart, just like how you did and when you went into college and you had, hey, I understand that I need some help here. I'm open to this and getting those right people around you. You're being guided to open your eyes and your mind and go beyond any limits you have set for yourself, and recognize that the way you see the world is how you will experience the world. Opportunities are moving in your direction, but they will only open up for you if you are ready to do the internal work to support them.
Hmm.
So, the fact that you are having that conversation with your friend about your dad, and you pulled out that picture, and you're not really sure, being encouraged to just literally sit down
Right.
at their table, channel that back, and connect with him, and asking him, "Tell me, what do I need to know?" And not feeling as though you are weird or that's strange or that's against a type of religion or whatever the case may be, because just like the same way that you started with having that flag and that remembrance
Hmm.
is the same way that we can connect and talk to our loved ones and our family, and having that opportunity to do that. And so
I
that
agree.
was
I
that was
agree.
the word that kind of came in to encourage
Hmm.
you, that whatever it is contemplating you, that's working on you, that he's there.
Yeah.
And
Amen. Thank you.
you're so welcome, Don. Well, Donna, it has been a pleasure connecting with you today. Thank you so much for having an open heart to have
Thank
this
you.
all intuitive conversation with me. Thank you for those that have joined us. So it looks like we had um, Aloha Marcello, to join us live today. He's
Hey,
actually in Atlanta, and
Atlanta.
and this must
Hey.
be one of your boys because he's like alpha. So,
Oh, he is. Hey. Ooh.
so yeah, so y'all do maybe need to connect. So thank you so much for your support and yes, belonging. So he was all engaged. Thank you for connecting
That's
with us
great.
on
That's awesome.
Marcellas.
Yeah.
So, and until we meet again next week, this has been an all intuitive conversation.